Hey everybody, I'm back again. This time I'm going to review a plugin by a company called AudioThing. The plugin is called Type-A. Let's dive in. What I really want to know is does this thing provide that additional harmonic content and that shimmer that people say that it does, and is it worth the money?
Is it worth the money?
Let's go. So I'm going to go ahead and actually just use like an unpublished song of mine. I don't have any vocals on it yet. If in a perfect world, I would actually throw this on a vocal too. So I'll have to probably come back and do another one of these. A little Daft Punky. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add it to essentially the master mix. I'm going to then try a bunch of different presets. I'm going to see like how the different things work. Then I'm going to go put it on some individual elements and see if I can do cool exercises with that. And then through that, we're going to just kind of see how this thing behaves. Let's jump in. So the first thing I want to do is actually put it on the whole mix. Okay, so I don't have it turned on yet. I've got a FabFilter Pro Q3 down here just so we can like analyze the spectrum of what's happening in the EQ. So before we get started, I want to go through what the actual user interface is. So according to the documentation, basically you've got your VU meter, you've got your in and out button, which means whether or not it's actually bypassed or not. You've got your direct, which is whether or not it's actually including the dry signal. And then you've got your bands. And the bands is apparently like whether or not those areas are being compressed or not. In like a multi-band compressor type of sense, you've got this additional button, this kind of drop down. And then here you actually have the metering option. You can include additional noise. You can set the attack and release of the actual compressor. And then from here, you can adjust the volume of those bands, right? And so I can use it kind of like leveling in a multi-band compressor. Over here, we've got the input signal. How hot is it coming in? Whether or not it's like dry or wet mix. And then finally, you can do some gain adjustments so you can have the before and after the plugin can do proper leveling. So let's hear it with and with. Without. And with. So it sounds to me like I'm getting a bit of shimmer in the hi-hats and a little bit of like the upper portion of the bass. I'm going to cut out everything in the low mids just so we can hear it a little bit better. So if I try to like do a filter sweep on this and listen, I'm going to see if I can identify like what range of the EQ that this is on. Yeah, okay, so it seems to me like this is happening like maybe between like 3 and 5, maybe 3 and 6,000 hertz. So that's really interesting. So I see here down in this particular preset, we've got 3 bumped up a little bit, so maybe that's what I'm hearing. So now I'm going to go through and click through some of the presets on this and see how that sounds. Okay, obviously that's intended to be like a parallel compressor. Clarity means I just turned up the 4th band, I guess. Wow. Wow. You can really hear how slow the attack is on that. Wait a second. I'm starting to doubt if I understand what those band buttons really mean. So let's go look at the actual documentation. Enable or disable the compression on each band. Okay, so this isn't actually saying that like enabling or disabling actually mutes that band, but rather just whether or not it's compressing. Okay. So if I have the direct in, that's like going to give me all the dry. And then once I've got that, I can do the mix knob to kind of give it the dry wet. And with that, it's almost as if I'm doing a parallel bus, but just kind of turning it down. Interesting. So I could definitely see myself layering this into things, and I can also see myself using it to add shimmer to like a mix bus. Let's try it on an individual thing. I want to try using it as a parallel, on a parallel bus for my drums. Let's hear that. So this is the drums on their own. So that's the parallel bus. And then when I unsolo that and I mix it in with the drums, let's hear how that just air plus the original signal sounds. Original. So I could hear it's like adding a little bit of crispiness to the drums. Sounds interesting. Let's try clicking through some of the presets on that. Ooh. You know, if I'm going to do something like this and adjust the signal that way, like I feel like I need to actually take both of those guys and route them through a compressor to keep the levels from going too crazy. But it is interesting. I can actually hear how it's kind of like saturating parts of the upper mids and the high. Okay. So let's try it on a synthesizer. Let's try it on this guy. Okay, let's hear it without, with. Interesting. I can actually hear all that kind of top end boost that's happening. Could I do that with an EQ? Maybe. But an EQ is not really designed to add harmonic content. It's really more just like a leveling thing. And so if I want to add harmonic content, i.e. saturation in like the upper highs, I would need something more like this. In general, I like how it sounds. Let's talk a little bit about the actual product itself. So the interface is cool. It's got that skeuomorphic design. Skeuomorphism, if you're not familiar with that term, is just basically like the interface is designed to look like something from real life. So it's got like the gradients and the drop shadows, and it's got the metallic face and all that, and the lights. So skeuomorphism, kind of cool. I think it sounds really nice. I like that you have the ability to actually adjust and bump the volumes of the various bands. I think that's really awesome. The attack and the release is awesome. I can't really hear the noise so much. It's like really subtle. But I can imagine myself using this a lot as a parallel bus. I can use it directly on the actual final mix. I want to come back and actually do this again for vocals because I use a similar type of product in the space that adds, a similar sort of side effect to this is called dopamine, gem dopamine by Overloud. I use that a lot on vocals, but I haven't used this on vocals a lot. And so I need to come back and try that. So probably in the future, I'm going to do a review of their sister plugin called Type-B. And when I do Type-A and Type-B, I'll probably just do a shootout on vocals. But running at $60, I'd say like having something in this category that is essentially like a saturator in a way, I like it. I think it's probably pretty useful. It's very subtle. I'd say like mixing engineers or like, kind of advanced folks who are actually like hearing those types of differences, probably most useful to them. I'd say if you're just getting started, like probably like the kind of nuanced things that happens in an EQ, you probably won't hear it as much. But this is definitely useful. I think it's worth the money. I think if you actually do wait for one of those deals where you can get a package or a bundle of a few things, you might want to try that. But yeah, cool plugin. I dig it. Shimmery. And as always, if you liked this, then you should like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. And that'll help me out. So anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and tune in for the next one.